What's going on, everybody, and welcome to the One Trick Hero podcast, where we bring you the Overwatch League's top plays of the week and latest news with roundtable discussion. I am your host, Paxfos, and today I am joined by none other than the one and only Voxia.
Is there any of us that are at a round table? One's pretty rectangular.
Oh my god, and I'm joined by Fish Whisper.
Hey everybody, we're late, but unlike your girlfriend, it's a good thing.
Wasn't expecting that. Sorry we're late for the for our normal routine podcast schedule. We normally air on Sunday evenings, but we were all tired and just didn't feel like doing a podcast on Sunday evening, so we're bringing it to you Tuesday. Yep, better late than never.
Monty was so tired he still asleep.
Yeah, Monty was so tired that he doesn't exist anymore.
Rest in peace, Monty.
Yeah. Monty's been pretty tired lately. So, anyways,
no longer with us.
Yeah, he's
on the podcast. He's alive though.
Is he? I haven't heard from him in 12 hours. He might.
Well, I suppose I don't know for sure, but I would hope that he is.
I hope so too. Okay, moving along. So, anyways, how did everyone feel about the week's matches and overall development of the league as of week 2?
Houston setting fire to Dallas.
Oh yeah,
in the dumpster.
Houston totally snuffed the fuel's flame, and then the Spitfire just continued to lay dirt over it, so it couldn't rise up.
That felt good. I mean, it felt really good to watch that. That was probably my highlight of this. I mean, as if you've been watching the podcast for the last 2 episodes, you would know all of us here are Houston fans. We have our own individual teams that we enjoy watching and we like, but we're all
Korean teams.
Yeah, we're all Houston fans. Korean teams for Vox.
But as a collective, we do love
Vox is our residential weeaboo, or what'd you call it? You call it Korea. Korea. Yeah, because it's specific to Korea.
Or for any fans of Monty, I'm a fellow Korean fellatio enthusiast, as people took to calling him, and he so readily wore with a badge of honor on his Twitter.
But anyways, no, Houston was the highlight of my week. Just watching them do better than what they were doing before, and then of course lighting that fire in the dumpster for Dallas Fuel. That was
hashtag Dallas dumpster fire.
we can't rat on Dallas too much. It might be on the podcast one day.
I mean, maybe they like it.
Like a hostile environment.
Likes to talk shit.
Okay, yeah, have them on here. We'll just talk shit. I mean, not like any of us could beat any of them in any
exactly
gameplay, but I mean,
exactly.
Whatever.
It's not like they're not good. They're still fantastic players. They just haven't worked it out as a team. And it shows.
Yeah. Any other thoughts about this? About week 2? About how it felt production wise, teams.
As far as production goes, I didn't notice any. There might have been some, but I didn't notice any actual production errors like I had on week 1, or there wasn't anything where I was left wanting. And because they added those things in, like I said, the player cams, they've got the voice comms rolling. The observers themselves, I think sometimes, they still got to get used to some things a little bit. There's been quite a few times where you see the kill feed and there's really interesting usage of an ult going off, and they're following somebody else that's barely doing anything. But that's not really a criticism, because I know they'll get better over time. It's especially difficult to observe this game anyway. So
yeah, did you? I don't know if you guys watched the Watch Point recap of last week. I think it just aired today.
No, I haven't gotten to it yet.
Okay, yeah, they actually had a segment in there where they were showing behind the scenes of the guys that are like doing the actual observing. And they were talking. That's one of the things they mentioned. They're like, yeah, this is pretty difficult. I mean, most sports, traditional sports and games, you have like a singular, like you follow the ball, you follow the puck, the batter, the pitcher, whatever action is happening at that moment, you're following that. You have an object to follow. And in Overwatch, it's all about an objective, and then you have 12 different people doing very different things that are all very important. So that could be, and especially first time having like a dedicated team for this, that can be more difficult. So
the ball is the team.
Yeah, the ball is the team. Yeah, 12 different balls. They have 12 balls.
Notice a lot of times the teams, they don't all sit in one spot on the map. They take defensive positions, so they have crossfires, so you can't see everything.
Yep. But overall, it's improving. It's getting better. I'm loving it. I mean,
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
we're not sponsored by McDonald's. Can't do that.
Could be.
Not yet. Unlike
Florida-
Florida.
Florida, Florida needs to
Maybe-
get sponsored by McDonald's, man.
Maybe if we fake it till we make it, I'll just get
On
like
it-
8 McGriddles and just stack them over on the side and eat some fries.
Yeah.
Honestly, Florida would go from like here on my list to up here if they
Oh, yeah.
got the Fran and then they got the McDonald's sponsorship.
Imagine the meme
Like,
potential. Twitch
oh my
chat and
God.
everywhere else
Oh
if
my
they
god,
actually
they already
had
got the
McDonald's
skins. The
sponsorship.
work's halfway over. They
Oh,
just,
yeah.
they just need to get the get the.
They should all get like a fast food sponsorship. Shanghai can get Panda Express.
Oh my god! Actually, I love Panda Express.
Well, Panda's good. I actually like
Panda's
it now.
good stuff.
It got better. over the
Burger,
years.
Houston.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. Houston with the Whataburgers. Oh, I love that. That'd be
The
good.
Gladiators can get in and out. That'd be fantastic.
What would Valiant get? What does LA got?
I guess Valiant could get in and out too.
They both share a sponsor.
Double down.
I don't know.
Chipotle. One of them
How
could take
about that?
Chipotle. Chipotle's very popular over here in the West.
I'm waking up my computer here. All right. Okay. Well, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get into our next segment of the show, which is Plays of the Week, where we go over our top 5 plays that we have selected. Not objectively the best plays. Again, this is just what we thought was cool and just some stuff that we happened to notice. We figured we'd talk about it on the show. And so for the first clip, I'm going to go ahead and pass this on over to Fish Whisperer.
Yeah. So anyway, this first clip that we're doing, it's going to be a Poco play. So what's going to happen is Shadowburn's going to launch the Grav, and Poco's going to pin his Diva Bomb up against that wall in the back corner, and that's going to get a full team clear. What makes this so impressive is Poco has practiced his angles so much that he knows as soon as that goes there, he can pin that to the wall, and it's going to make it almost impossible for San Francisco to be able to get that shield barrier up. And even if they did, Poco's in that corner firing down on him anyway, and then they've got Fraggy swinging a giant hammer as well. So it's just going to be a real crisp play, and it's kind of showing why Poco's ults are the best ones in the league right now.
Oh yeah,
Like,
I love
far
how
and
at the end of
away.
the clip you see Fraggy go to the opposite corner in case Reinhardt does switch his shield. He just straight gets in there, like you said. It's crazy. He manages to find it and pin it right between the wall and then that bench there. I think it sticks in that little corner created between the two of them.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
It's loco for Poco.
I'm a fan of this clip simply because I'm now a fan of Poco. So that's,
Yeah.
that's why I
Yeah.
like it.
I had
Yeah.
actually never heard of Poco before the Overwatch League.
Me
which
neither.
is-
Coming from
but-
France, I like how he's being highlighted now. Highlighted now though by the league and by other people because usually with Diva ults you see it being used as a way to clear the point, as a way to kind of create space, or even this isn't very
zoning ultimates.
yeah, this is actually very common just to use it to get back in the mech because your right click is just that, or your projectile blocking beam thing is really important. And so you see that used a lot, and that's not even necessarily a wrong way to use the ult, but this is just unique and different, and it makes for really good entertainment. That is really fun to watch. Just seeing an entire team blow up in one shot, that feels good.
Oh, it's so satisfying.
But also seeing
Explosions are cool, man.
But the other thing I love is that Fusion is playing around this. It's not just something like, oh, Poco, by the way, if you can get some kills, sweet, we're just gonna do our own thing. Like, no, they're building. I mean, that clip was a perfect example of them building a strategy. I mean, that looks so practiced. I think Fish, you were saying that earlier. It looks so clean. It doesn't look. I mean, it looks like they've been doing this in scrims for a long time or something like that.
Yeah, well, the way they set it up, Shadowburn pops that in a position to where it's going to be almost impossible for that Reinhardt to be able to get his shield up because Poco knows exactly where that bomb's going. It's obviously intentional because it's not one that's kind of lobbed in there and hoped it's going to go.
Yeah.
It's thrown quick right at that spot, and Poco positions himself on that staircase immediately afterwards where he's kind of out of the way to the point where he's a little hard to see where he's at. He's got a little bit of cover, and he's just firing all of his rounds down. So if Reinhardt tries to turn and block it, he's just going to open up on him with that little bunny blaster, which doesn't normally do a huge amount of damage. But when you've got the entire team standing in front of you with no shield,
it's not negligible.
And the whole team going through and follow up with Fraggy, it's just there's no way to stop that. Poco has said that he spent hours and hours and hours in custom games trying angles, and his goal is when he throws his diva bombs for them to come from weird angles to give people the least amount of time to react to it. And not only to react to it, it's also designed so that there's the least amount of escape. So his whole game plan with his ultimates, he still uses them similar to the way the other people would use them in a zoning manner. However, he's so good at angles and he's practiced so much that when he does use these ultimates, his zoning ultimates almost always find kills because he's throwing them from angles that everybody just doesn't have an option to deal with. It's either die or that's really it with
die.
Stuff. You either are lucky and are kind of mispositioned and not there for it, or you're just going to go down. And I mean, his diva bombs are so good that he's gone from like not a super well-known guy to the point where Blizzard's promoting him and they're doing all kinds of stuff with him.
That's good to see, but that's what you want to see,
crazy.
Especially on a developing league. You don't want to always have the same people on the front page. I mean, it's good to have those it's good to have those teams and those players that are like constant dominant stars. You want to have that. It kind of creates like a following and whatnot. But especially with this league being new, you want to have faces that people are all of a sudden like, oh man, I'm going buying a fusion skin for Diva because wow, that was amazing. You know, that's what they want. It's a marketable thing, but it's also good for the longevity of the sport.
I think it's great too because it's unique. It's not. I mean, not that any stat is worth shying away from, other than deaths or bad ones, of course. But it's not just how many kills somebody gets with their ult or how many Dragon Blades they can use in a game. It's very unique to Poco how many the amount of kills he gets from his diva bombs.
Yep.
Is similar to the amount of damage that Jonok throws out with his Zenyatta. There's not another player in the league that does exactly what they do with their hero, with their best hero at the moment. It's really interesting.
I agree. All right, so we actually have another clip from Fish Whisper. Go right ahead. Okay.
All right. So what we're going to have here is Soul playing the Mayhem. Kuki's going to start going in. Initially, he's going to dive, and on his initial dive, he's going to set off Transcendent. What that's going to do is cause a chain reaction. So they're going to all get pushed into that back room because the rest of Soul is also going to kind of collapse in on them. And as soon as they're in there, Kuki is going to pop that Primal Rage, and then he's going to start to get picks because they don't have anywhere that they can go. And as he's doing that and getting picks, the rest of his team is diving and collapsing him in and just doesn't really give them any escape from it. Tavik is going to go ahead and try to use his Dragon Blade, try to get some value, maybe break up what's about to happen to him, mostly because he sees Zenyatta on his team use his ult. So he's going to see that and he's going to go, okay, I can dive into that and get some value out of it. However, he's going to get that first initial kind of pick on Fleta, and it's going to throw off his rhythm, and Munchkin's going to come in and finish off Tavik, and that's going to be enough for Kuki to pretty much get a team wipe. And it's just a real good team play by Soul, and it's kind of what you're supposed to use Winston for. Pull ultimates out of your support on something like that, and then prevent them from getting a lot of value out of it.
Yeah, I love how you see at the beginning of the clip too. As soon as Kuki lands on the Winston, just to his right, you see Zephyr flying with the Diva to cover off that side, for a potential flank. I mean, he's pressuring the Mercy. Mercy goes to the middle, but they're there, and then he follows Mercy with his cursor, or his crosshair rather, and then you see Tracer come to the left right there supporting him. So they have Winston in the middle, they have Diva on one side, and the Tracer on the left, all collapsing like a trident, just 3 points in, and then the rest of them follow up after. It's just crazy. It's crazy cool.
Yeah, it kind of we'll have another clip discussing this further later on, but it kind of goes on to this Soul Dynasty represents themselves as a team of a really methodical approach, and they're very careful with how they engage, but when they do engage, they're in unison. I mean, they
Cold, calculated design.
it's really
It's like
impressive.
so awesome.
I mean, if a couple of the players on Seoul Dynasty have finished their service with the Korean military, and I hate to
Kooky,
say
yeah.
that that's because we all three of us here have military experience, but I hate to say how that's shown, but it kind of has that, almost like the fluidity and the teamwork is there. They have
Well,
that
I mean,
experience.
I hate to praise it too, but if there's one positive that can be taken from it, whether you have a good experience or bad experience, we are kind of forced. You get kind of forced, especially us, to learn how to cooperate
Mhm.
as a team, even if you don't want to or you don't agree with everybody. Like you can throw people like us into a bunch of others. And that's not saying that South Seoul is. Obviously,
Right.
they get along
Right.
very well.
Of
It
course.
seems, but even if they didn't, so it just makes it, the fact that they do seem to get along and stuff, even better, because they know how to work even with people they don't want to. So with people they want to, you're willing to go the extra mile. It's great.
Yeah, it just seems like whenever they go into play, they all know that they're there for a task and they're there to complete the task, and they do not care how the task gets done, except for the fact that the way the task gets done is the most efficient way possible. That they're there to win, and that's their goal, and that's what they do.
And they trust in their teammates too. They're
Yes.
not messing up their own plays because they're sitting there wondering or trying to figure out if somebody else on their team has done their job. They know and trust that everybody's going to do their job at the same time when they need to, so they all go in and do it.
And I could be misremembering or misreading. I would need someone to verify. But I believe I was reading on Reddit that Kuki, is that how you say it? Kuki, or is it Kukai? Yeah. I was reading that he was Special Forces.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't watched the interview.
I don't remember if that was
yet,
him or
but
Ryu Jae Hong. I think it might have been. I think it was Kuki. Okay,
It was
all right.
Kuki. I think that was the article I read as well.
I mean, it shows he's good at guerrilla warfare.
yeah.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry. All right, that's it. Show's over. I've embarrassed myself. No more. Okay, so I'm actually going to introduce this next clip because this was I was watching this. I was laying on the floor, like right here, and I was laying down, working on I was working on a computer actually, and then I look up and I saw Jake. Well, I'll just say this is Jake on Linkser. I have to figure out this production thing. Oh, I did that wrong. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what I'm doing. All right, there we go. All right, so
no wonder you're not on Soul.
I know. Oh, so right here, this is Jake. Right here, just Siegel on the Junkrat, but right here, Jake annihilates that Riptire, goes on to kill Siegel, and then starts making progress towards the Mercy. I loved this clip because this is Jake. Kind of, everyone's been memeing around Jake can only play Junkrat, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Jake's game sense is really good. He has incredible game sense. I mean, in my opinion, and
I share that opinion 100%.
And granted,
sure
his Junkrat is really good, but his other heroes are not bad. In fact, what kind of brought him to fame what brought him to fame in the World Cup was his soldier. His soldier was
Pharah too. There was a few times where he swapped to the Pharah and then forced to swap out from Flower, and Flower just ended up one-upping him every time, barely. But I mean, he's good on everything else. People seem to attach themselves too much to the idea that because he plays Junkrat so much, it's all he can play, or the thing that he can only play up to the standard that everybody else needs to. But really, it's that not only is his Junkrat really good, but Junkrat is super good in the meta right now. So if he's really good on that, and it's the best thing to play on most maps like it is, why is he going to play something else anyway? But I don't know. People want to think that that's all you can play, and I guess that's their right to, but they're wrong.
Yeah, that's what I don't understand. He's Junkrat's meta right now. I mean, especially considering the comps a lot of people are playing. I mean, why not play Junkrat? I mean,
maybe it's a salt thing. They hate Junkrat, so they throw their negativity onto Jake because he's playing it a lot or something.
It has to be because I mean, and I remember back in the days of beta going into the release of Overwatch, Junkrat for even then wasn't really. I mean, some people used him, had some luck with him, but he wasn't meta at all. Yeah,
No.
yeah, Fish Whisper. But but I remember other people in the TF2 community when this was getting big, and other people kind of discussing about this, saying you got to be careful with Junkrat because his kit, with very few exceptions, is ridiculous. Unlimited grenade spam with that much damage, the mine and all that. It is incredibly strong, and if it's overtuned just a tiny bit, he would absolutely stomp over or just about anybody just because of how much damage and how he can just spam stuff without ever really fearing for his life. For the most part.
Yeah, his grenades bounce, so you don't
Yeah.
even have to have direct line of sight anywhere.
Yeah,
You don't even
anytime you
have to
get
have
into a
any kind of line of sight. How many times have you died to a Junkrat grenade? You see the kill feed, and he wasn't even aiming close to where you're at. They just happen
Yeah.
to bounce in your
Yeah.
direction. You didn't see him until it's too late.
Well, you think it bounced in your direction, but it's just like those Zen picks with the right charge. You're just like, okay, well, they're gonna walk into this eventually, and then they do.
Well, I
And-
mean, yeah, that's most of it. But I mean, I've
yeah,
seen times where it bounces off a wall and then it manages to bounce off another one from a corner and then comes straight at me. And sometimes I see the Junkrat and I'm like, I know they were calculating that, but other times they're spamming at something else, and it just happens to fly in my direction.
Oh yeah, there's absolutely
Shrapnel.
ones where it's just a random catch, but it just kind of depends on who you're playing against too. A little
Oh,
bit
yeah.
is gonna tell you that too. You can really tell the difference when you go to dive them and they immediately stomp you with 2 mines, or they throw them,
Mhm.
or they're picking Pharah out of the air with mines and stuff. I'm not
Oh,
saying
yeah.
it's super hard to pick Pharah out of the air with mines, but it's really your own fault if you get into a position where you're getting yourself picked off with Junkrat mines.
Yeah,
And,
a lot of
and,
ferret deaths are their own fault.
Yeah,
and that's why I think that nerf should be hitting soon. Hopefully, from PTR on him, I think that's a good one. That's an example of a good nerf. It
Yeah.
doesn't ruin him competitively, but it just kind of levels a little bit of the playing field. Where sometimes, like as a Pharah, you're like, should I have been hit by that mine? And it gives you a little more breathing room. But if your aim and your geometry is still really good, you're still gonna
I
get
can
that
tell
hit.
you from playing a ton of Pharah that if you get picked by the Junkrat mine, you deserved it.
It's like when I'm
That's
running
bad
around on Tracer
positioning.
and I kill Pharahs more consistently than when I played 76. Every
Yeah.
time I know
Yeah.
it's not. I mean, I'm taking advantage of the situation, but it's 90% the Pharah just being having terrible positioning.
Yeah, if you die on Pharah and it is not essentially Widow getting a solid pick on you, then you probably made a mistake with your positioning. Because you can always duck down behind something or move, and there's all kinds of stuff you can do with Pharah to not get picked off.
Oh, yeah.
You
Just
might
watch
not be as
Libero.
effective.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's
Libero
you
and
have
his movement
options.
is so great on a hero.
But going back to Jake, he is, and this I picked that clip because the Genji play was really great. He was able to kind of secure that point. I mean, they were holding. He was able to give them the competitive advantage for that time being with a well placed ult and the good game sense. I mean, he knew that ult was coming. He was in the area. He was in the place he needed to be. And he knew his priorities. Took down the ult and immediately went over to the Mercy to keep her off the team. It's good game sense and it's really good hero play and it's just going to keep getting better. And when Junkrat's not meta, whatever's best, Jake's going to jump on it because he's not limited to hit scan. He's not limited to his hero limit is limitless. I mean, he really can play just about anything as far as the DPS pool goes. I mean, we've seen him on stream and stuff like play tanks and stuff. He can do all that, but as far as the tool that he is, don't. That sounds bad. Clipped out of context.
The tool that he is.
What a
tool.
for the tool he is for the outlaws.
the good use of the word tool.
Yeah, the good use of
Like
the
a
word
Swiss
tool.
Army knife.
The Swiss Army,
yeah.
yeah, there you go. The Swiss Army knife he is for the team is that he can flex to whatever is needed for them to win. Because at the end of the day, it's not about, hey, I'm Jake and I'm the sweetest Pharah around, or Genji, or Junkrat, whatever. It's about what are we going to do to win, because that's what he wants to do. He wants to win. And you can see that, and he's putting effort into it. I like it. Personally, I'm a fan. But then again, we're biased on this stream, so,
Yeah.
I do
Yeah,
like
they're
how you see him complete the first dash, and then he does about It's almost like a 45-degree angle or somewhere around there, and then just dashes straight to the Genji. It looks like some weird robotic like dance. It's just I like the animations for it.
Yeah.
It's pretty interesting.
Well, then on
Um,
top of that, Siegel was like the only one getting any value on Dallas most of that game, and he shut him down there and his ult. And Siegel was the one that was kind of not really getting things started because Houston's the greatest team in the world, but like he was getting some plays, and he did some decent play as far as the team went. So the fact that he shut him down there definitely could have prevented something from happening a little further down.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agreed. All right, next clip is brought to you by Voxia once again, so I will let you...
Once again? Well, I guess if you count the other episodes. This is the first one for this one.
What? Didn't you introduce...
Nope.
Oh,
nope,
wow.
Just roll it. Just
Okay.
roll it.
All right. I'm garbage. Wait, I should hire...
window cleaner fumes.
Yeah, I should hire a production manager. All right. Let's see. Here we... Oh, how do I click that? There we go. All right.
So this clip itself isn't a huge. It's not necessarily. It's not an individual play that we're highlighting. It's a team coordination thing. I mean, you see, they just need a little bit more to get to this point. Florida comes back to bring up the point, and you see that Fleta pick instantly. The Reinhardt dropped his shield slightly, and there was just enough of an angle for Fleta to get the shot. Like we were talking about earlier, the rest of Seoul trusts everybody to do their job. So Fleta does his job, like the machine he plays like. He just instantly gets that pick, and then they take about a second to realize what's going on, and then you can see the rest of Seoul all collapse just entirely on man because they know they have the advantage, and they push out the healers, they throw down DPS, and they push them off enough to get to the point. And I think it's just incredible to watch. It's almost like an avalanche. You see one little shift in the snow, and then it all just falls apart and collapses on top of them. And I love watching Seoul's coordination. It's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing that I like a lot about this too is it shows how much the team trusts each other too. Because right before this, Fleta was on McCree and just had gotten picked off by Tavik. And instead of coming back in McCree, he swapped over to Widow. And the whole team is so confident in him getting that pick that pretty much that whole push is based upon knowing Fleta's going to pick somebody when we go to engage this and give us a numbers advantage to where we can get this. Because it's not an advantage to have Fleta way the hell back there and not up with the team, but it is giving them an advantage because they're so confident Fleta's going to get that pick and let him swing the numbers into it, and then just kind of be able to zone anybody off that does try to get the point. He just knows it's going to happen. It just shows that how confident the team is.
Yeah, that's exactly what we were talking about earlier. They just trust everybody to do their job and do it without question. And I love it too because you see as the clip rolls up, it's almost silent, and then when I saw it first, I didn't know what happened. You just hear the shot go off from Widow, and then you see the kill feed, and you're like, oh, I actually got somebody. How?
Patience is the word that comes to mind for Seoul Dynasty. They are incredibly patient. They're not jittering to get the pick.
Yeah, you never see them panicle. They don't throw themselves to try to force initiations because they seem to feel a need to because the timer's down. They wait. They make sure they're set up. They have the correct amount of time to do something, and they do it.
Yeah, they are very aware of the time, but they're also very aware that one thing can catalyst into another. And obviously you can see the results of that. Their team was hanging back, waiting, and normally at that point you would see a lot of other players. I mean, especially in competitive, no one's patient in competitive.
Everybody's just gonna rush straight to the.
They go right in there and they try to be the first ones to make the move. But in this case, Seoul was sitting there waiting for someone to slip up. Fleta just found the one person at the wrong place at the wrong time, and that was it. That was go time. And then as soon as that pick happened, they knew exactly what to do. They knew where each person was going, how to split them up, how to kind of like it's almost like watching. You can see them cutting them off in like halfway. As soon as they got the pick, they knew they had the advantage. They cut them off and they just kind of like eat them.
Diva rushes the healers. Zenyatta immediately pops his Transcendence for Florida and kind of gets pushed out by the Diva, and then the rest of them are able to clean up.
It's
But
strategic.
and I love the thing too is because they're not just waiting either. They know Fleta's going to get the pick, but you do see him encroach kind of slowly towards the payload. They don't rush it and dive in on it immediately, tunneling on that objective without considering. They're pushing up. They're using the Reinhardt correctly. They're all behind him. They're positioned. They're almost like a phalanx. Just slowly moving up, getting closer because they know they only have a few feet to move it. So as long as they get an advantage, they'll win, and then they get it, and they do win.
And then the other impressive point of that is the slip up that Florida made. Like Seoul forces them to mess up more after the pick, but the only real mistake that they made there, Reinhardt drops his shield for half a second, and that's what
blink of an eye.
Pick. It's not even enough time that most players could recognize that. But it drops, Fleta gets the pick, and then they're already screwed. And it's just from the shield going down from like a second.
It also is a good highlight of the kind of difference between a team like Florida who's down towards the bottom and Seoul, and not just because mechanically speaking, most of the players are pretty close, and where they're at. But the coordination for the team in this game that so heavily rewards great teamwork, it shows in like you're saying, Fish. They make that one little mistake. I don't even think it was a communication error. They just drop the shield for half a second, and then bam, they get the pick, and then they don't know what's going on, and Seoul just takes them out.
And you can see that they are very close mechanically, because even on the worst teams, as of right now, you still see bits and pieces of just like amazing mechanical play, like really fast reflexes, amazing game sense and whatnot. But that's half the battle in a game that's inevitably team based. Your team, the way your team works as a unit.
We got to credit the coaches too. We're talking about this.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of people don't, in the esports scene as a whole, don't seem to. People who are involved in it tend to, but a lot of the fan side of it don't seem to really understand just how crucial and a good coach is for a team. There are players out there who can work together and they don't need much coaching, but a great coach can take a roster that on its own would be middle of the pack or even bottom and turn them into a top team just because of how well they get them to execute things as a team and how the trust they have in each other. It all builds on it. It just continues.
Well, just the straight amount of individual talent that Dallas has on its roster, and the fact that they're struggling just shows that can have all the mechanical skills in the world, but once you get to a game that's this team dependent, that you have to have that teamwork and coordination. Or you're just gonna not.
Exactly.
Yeah, you gotta be able to rein them in.
Exactly.
And Kai, strategically speaking, Kai could be one of the greatest coaches, but if he doesn't have the side of himself that can kind of rein in the players' personalities and get them to fit together like a puzzle, like Seoul has been doing so far, then it's not going to work as well, like you said.
Yeah. All right, so next clip I'm going to be showing you guys, it's our boy Jay Jonak. This guy has just been shredding the leaderboards as far as damage.
I love Jonak.
This guy, as far as supports go, you can make an argument for there being some better supports out there as far as just healing, positioning, using their ults, here, there, and whatnot. But Jonak's damage alone cannot be understated. Basically it's a additional DPS for the team. Just how the numbers he's spewing here. Let me.
Well, you could make an argument that he's in the top range of DPS just playing Zenyatta.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's not a surprising thing at all.
Yeah, play the clip.
Yeah, okay.
And then get into the stats otherwise.
All right, so clip here. You watch Jay Jonak. He's doing his thing.
It's just Jonak.
Left click. Or is it just Jonak? I don't. Okay.
Yeah.
Right here. It didn't. The clip kind of lagged a little bit, but he basically did a predictive shot on a tracer movement and was able to get the headshot on her. And I'm going to actually wait till this clip resets over here so I can go over that transcendence again, because that's actually the part about this clip that I liked. He's able to get the damage out there like he always does and doing very good. Right here, you get that tracer predictive shot, boom. But the transcendence here, now you can make the argument that that's a bad that was a panic transcendence, considering that. Oops. I think I lost you guys.
Yeah, it kind of looks like you.
I don't see your camera.
Projection
there.
Hold on. How do I turn on my camera?
You've turned into a dog.
For
Oh, there you go.
It's kind of impressive. He's not even
Scary,
playing, and he
man.
still managed to take you out of the stream.
Discord just took a dump on me.
No,
that's that thing where you guys were talking about where it disconnected when you went to double click on it.
It did.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, I don't think that's what it was. I think
It's the
Jonah
power
heard
of
you
Jonah.
talking shit about his transcendence.
Yeah,
Took
it's
you
the
out.
power of Jonah.
Well, I know he should have waited because
DPS from anywhere.
he should have waited because I was going to.
No,
I was
doesn't
gonna-
need to
No, it
wait.
doesn't wait.
Predictive
Jonah
headshot.
Jonah kills.
No, what I was gonna say about that transcendence is I actually like that because, yeah, there's a diva bomb, and if you're close enough to it, that transcendence isn't gonna do anything. But I think in this position, he knew that he knew that that's not protecting against the diva bomb. What he's doing is he knows people have to move their position and get out of position for the diva bomb, and he knows there's going to be damage coming out of it because that diva bomb was to put them in a position where they'd have to run away, get into a room, and you saw the LA Valiant's Fate, who was playing Winston. You saw he ulted in the corner, and if they would have all gone in the room with him ulting, I mean, they would have just taken a lot of damage. He might have gotten some kills, and that would have been a successful defense on the part of Valiant. But that with his transcendence, he was able to keep the team as if nothing ever happened because nobody got hit by the bomb.
Yeah, it's like a Lucio speed boost.
Yeah,
It's unfortunate you have to, throw the ult out for it, but it allows them to reposition and they get the payload anyway.
But the thing with Jonak is that he gets the ult back.
Yeah, almost immediately.
The amount of damage he's doing, he's getting that. He's getting that ult back. I mean, in no time.
Plus, at the end of the day, I mean, what is it? A win is a win. I mean, I was watching Arc stream the other night, and somebody asked him in the chat, what do you think of the criticism that a lot of people have towards you and Jonah? Because a lot of times on pushes, they will double dip their ultimates. Yeah. They'll throw both their ultimates. And Arc kind of laughed about it, and he was like, "Yeah, I mean, it's okay. If we do it and we win though, then it's okay, right?" And he just kind of laughed and then went on the next thing. And I was like, I mean, of course you can always look for things in min-max and get better, but at the end of the day, if you do it and you still win, then it can't have been that bad.
Yeah. I was gonna say something. I completely forgot.
I was gonna say that's okay. I got you.
I
see, the way I like to look at it, because I don't ever play support, so I like to look at it as just playing DPS. The fun part of it for me is he's like, all right, pick, and then he's like, oh, and then you just want to think that someone's just screaming at him in Korean, why am I not getting healed? And he's like, crap, and then just hit transcendence real quick, and he's like, shut up, I'm trying to get picks. So he's like, everyone's mad he's not healing, so he's like, all right, fine, there's your transition, shut up and let me play. And he's back there, pick.
Well, I could.
So it's nice to pretend that's what's happening.
I'll say, go ahead, Lex.
It was tough to pick a clip of him. I mean, I have tons of clips of him just getting triple kills, double kills, throwing out.
He's a kill master. He's doing good.
Yeah, it's insane. But it's like we were saying earlier. They play with basically a third DPS in Jonok, because the stat is he does 23% more damage than any other Zenyatta in the Overwatch League, or he does 23% more damage than healing than any other Zenyatta, right?
Wow.
And the closest Zenyatta to him is
Shaz,
does
right?
1% more.
I think Shaz.
I can't remember who it is. But yeah, it's either 1 or 2%. So he's doing 21% more damage than any other Zenyatta in the entirety of Overwatch League.
I'm curious what his ult charge rate, the difference. I'm sure he has a faster ult charge rate than any other Zenyatta, I would imagine, because I think damage boosts it faster than healing.
Yeah,
I think so.
But
I think they weigh damage heavy.
Yeah, but I'm curious if I'm sure that stat's out there. I'd like to see that, how much faster he gets his ult, because, and Monty, not our Monty, the actual, not the budget Monty, the real Monty.
Monte Cristo.
He was referring to one of the problems he had with Nixel is he sees him throwing a lot of ults. And that could be a problem, especially when you're facing against someone like Seoul Dynasty, who is who is very conservative with their ultimates, and they're very deliberate about it. So that's definitely a concern, and I think that's one of those things they'll eventually get better with over time, because we've seen that in older teams, in contenders teams and whatnot, throw ults a lot, and then over time just get better about conserving it and about using them when they should. Arc's not wrong though. At the end of the day, a win's a win.
Yeah, but of course they're gonna. I mean, like he said, they're gonna. He also said, they'll look they'll look at it and like better. But Seoul has been most of their rosters been together longer than Nixels has too, so
Yep.
that's one of those synergy things. I think a lot of times they don't necessarily mean to throw both out, but they end up doing it. So
Yeah.
as the team plays together more and gets even more. Not even just a communication thing, but there's kind of non-communicative things. When you play with somebody long enough, you kind of get a feel for when they're going to do something, so you don't even need to say what you're going to do or what they're going to do. You just know that, it's like when we play, Fish here knows that I'm going to always engage pretty much all the time. So he doesn't have to say or ask. He just follows me up on the stuff or vice versa. It's a trust thing almost. And like I said, Soul definitely has that on lock.
Oh yeah.
Once you play with people enough and start to learn their play style really, really well, you can make all kinds of decisions that seem strange to everybody else that doesn't understand why you're doing it. But when you've played enough with your teammates and you're like, well, I did that because I know he does this 9 out of 10 times. So it might be the one time that it doesn't work out, so people are criticizing it. But you're like, well, you don't notice it on all the other times because it just goes so smooth.
Exactly. And Nixel seems to be approaching that level of play very rapidly. I'm very excited for their matchup against Seoul this week.
That's the big hype match. I'm excited for that too. I think what we're gonna see, I mean, this is an early prediction, but I do feel like Seoul might still have the upper hand just because of their teamwork advantage. But I don't think you can discount Nixel, and it's very likely that they'll pull an upset.
I think the chance of an upset's really high.
Their raw talent on Nixel is just unreal. Like they have the likes of Sabiolbi, Pine, Jonak, Arc. I mean, these guys, Libero. These guys.
Libero doesn't even get the spotlight as much because of Pine and Sabiolbi being so popular. But Libero's always there doing his job. He's really
superstar
really
lineup, and once they start working on it, I think we're gonna see better.
My prediction on this one is that I think Seoul's going to win, and Seoul might win convincingly. I think this is going to be where Nixel, I think it's going to be a learning experience for them because it's going to be them playing against Seoul. I think they're going to learn a lot from it. And I think if they are going to beat Seoul, I think it's going to be on the next time they play them. I think it's going to take them a game to understand, because there's not really anybody else that plays like Seoul. So I think it's going to take them a game to understand what they need to do. And I think one game against them is going to be enough that it increases their odds at another win considerably.
I think you're probably right on that. I mean, they interviewed Ark and he said that they've been pretty much only focusing on practicing Soul for the most part lately. So they're going to be putting in a lot of practice, but until you actually play them, you don't know if the practice is going to be effective or not. So I think there's a good chance that we could see an upset. But I will not be surprised at all if Seoul ends up taking it, even if it's kind of convincing score-wise. Yep. But I will think each map is going to be somewhat competitive, even if it were to be a 4-0, let's say. I think it's all going to be kind of tooth and nail. It's just Seoul is there.
All right, we're gonna move into our last clip, which is always our bottom play of the week, our fail of the week. And this is brought to you by London Spitfire, aka Cloud9. And you guessed it.
Yes.
They're going to pull a C9. So I'm going to pass this off to...
The classic C9.
I'm going to pass this off to Vox, yes.
Clip is pretty short here. Dallas is basically about to get it. They clear off Gesture, and then Nuss flies in and gets the last minute res just barely before they push it. And then what does Gesture do? He gets revived, and then he doesn't even jump or anything. He just immediately walks tunneling on the Mercy for Dallas like a moth to a flame. I mean, he doesn't even question it. He doesn't sidestep or anything. The second he can move, he's just spamming W and going straight for the backline. It was pretty funny. It's especially great, of course, because it's C9 doing the C9. The meme will always be there and will live forever.
Oh yes.
I hope to see them do it less, but at least it's entertaining when they do it.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, but the amount of times that Cloud9 has actually done that, and with the amount of different players Cloud9 as an organization has had.
I mean, they were doing it in the Sure 4 days.
Yeah, I'm sitting here going like, there has to be somebody from the Cloud9 organization going, okay, guys, this is a meme. This is making us money. You need to step off the point. Like, it wouldn't even surprise me if like they were screaming in cons like, Jester, get off point, get off point, get off point. It's like, okay, shit, okay, my bad.
It is good for the fan base. I mean, memes are pretty. But Cloud9 as an organization has been like that in every esport. I mean, their Counter-Strike team has all kinds of memes associated that have been years standing and continue going on. Their League of Legends team is the same. And one of their players, Sneaky, he plays AD carry for that team. He is well known for finding the weirdest and strangest bugs while he's playing solo queue consistently. Like, he always ends up getting these weird bugs that happen to him and no one else, and that's what, so the community calls him Bug Catcher Sneaky because of the frequency it comes. It's, I don't know, that organization is a blessing.
Blessing to esports.
Well, not only just because of the memes, but obviously they've proven themselves year and year again to be a really great organization.
And especially in the early days of esports, leading up until, because we're now breaching into a new age of franchising.
After it was established, they built it. They're a pillar of the esports community, to be completely honest. And Jack is a great guy too. I've talked to him briefly, but he was fantastic. Well,
and yeah, like I was saying, especially in the early days, there's so much room for abuse, especially for money. We're moving into a new age of franchising where stuff's kind of getting more streamlined, modernized, kind of a little bit more into the, I mean, Overwatch League.
Great, of course.
Yeah, Overwatch League is one of those that's pushing this into a more of a mainstream type thing. But in the early days, and there's still a lot of horror stories around from early games and early leagues with organizations just absolutely bending the players over and just taking them for what they're worth. It's bad, really bad.
I mean, there's still players to this day that played on teams years ago in League and Counter-Strike and stuff and never got paid. Based on what their contract is. Some of them have fought it enough to where they've gotten recompense, over the years and stuff. But like you said, Cloud9 came in early and they never were shady. They've always been great. They treat their players well. They're committed to the esport. They're just good.
Exactly. So we're going to go ahead and move on into our next segment. That does it for Plays of the Week. We're going to go into news now. Not a ton of news, other than a few things here and there. The top thing that this week in the news, of course, was XQC in trouble again. And this time he was suspended for 4 games, later extended to the rest of Stage 1, and also fined $2,000. The reason why he was suspended and fined was for some remarks he made to the one of the main tanks for Houston Outlaws, Muma. Muma is one of the only, maybe the only, I don't know if there's any other, I mean, I don't know if anybody's identified it as.
I was reading, he's the only openly gay member of Overwatch League.
Yes, and XQC, I'll go over the situation first. Basically, he made a remark to him on his stream. What was the exact thing he said? I don't remember. Does anybody have it?
Know.
It was something.
I don't think his exact words are super relevant.
No,
it's paraphrasing, but he basically said, "Go suck a dick," and then he said, "Oh well, he would probably like that."
Right, something. Okay, but okay, so that's what he said. He said it on stream, reference to Muma. Muma responded basically like, "Hey, this doesn't affect me. I don't care." And then
Muma handled it like a man because Muma is a man.
Yeah, he did a good job handling it. And then afterwards, kind of when the dust settled, XQC kind of realized like, "Hey, I shouldn't have said that." He apologized, and then that's when the punishment came in because this hit news sources outside of Overwatch League. This was on ESPN and some other news, Kotaku and whatnot. I think it was on Kotaku. But anyways, the point being that this was like one of the big. This is another chance for Overwatch League to kind of, I hate to say it, but use him as like an example. Like, look, we don't tolerate this, and this is and we're showing it. What are y'all's thoughts on this and on XQC in general, and just kind of how the league is handling this punishment?
I think the punishment is fair. It's not that what he said was super horrible, you know. I mean, obviously it was mean-spirited, and if it, us being gamers, and I'm sure anybody listening is more than likely a gamer. Telling somebody to go suck a dick or something while you're playing is not even. I mean, that's normal. People say stuff like that all the time when they're gaming. But what kind of made it a little out of line is when he then specifically reference Muma by saying, "Oh, well, he would probably like it," because then instead of it being a general insult that people throw out left and right all the time, I mean, you can question whether that's okay or not on your own, but that's a normal thing. But then he specifically, kind of says, makes it a stick towards Muma. So that, but I think it's less necessarily what he said and more that XQC has had problems in the past too. He's been in trouble for some other things, and so it shows a lack of self-discipline. So I think regardless of what he said or how mean it was or not, it's good that he's being punished, because when you're representing a professional team for a professional league like Overwatch, from a developer like Blizzard, you especially when you're streaming, it's one thing to say things off stream in a closed room when nobody's like listening, but when you're on stream, you really are you're a face to the public. You're representative of those things that you're a part of. So you really should be more. You need to be more accountable for what you say and how they can affect people. So I think the punishment is fair, because he needs to learn more self-control. And he apologized, and then he came out and he kind of gave himself an excuse, saying that he talked so fast and it was heated in the moment he said things, which is all fine. It happens, but just apologize. Don't make an excuse for it afterwards. Just say you're sorry, you shouldn't have said it, and move on from it. And I think the fact that he's still kind of throwing that excuse out there means that he hasn't fully accepted the gravity that comes with taking on a professional spot like he has.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I know he shouldn't have said what he said. But okay.
But
I'm trying to think of the best way to explain this. Like,
I can take it. I think I know what you can.
Yeah, what I'm kind of saying is, like, he has a character, and I'm not saying everything he does is in character on stream, but part of his personality is he's really fast and over the top. I mean, you can see it, and he really overemphasizes everything in his gameplay. When he's winning, it's like way over the top. He'll be like, "It's all me," when in reality, I don't think he thinks it's all him. But he's that's just part of who he is. What makes him successful as a streamer, what makes him popular. It's just he's got that attitude, that super fast, in your face, talking about fast. You need subtitles to literally keep up with him sometimes, and part of that comes with having an over the top character. Part of that's probably really him. Part of that's probably on stream. When he said that, to me, when I watched the clip of him actually saying that, it didn't feel malicious. Like he was legitimately, like, a lot of people were like, "Oh, XQC's homophobic."
I doubt he is. I doubt
No.
he really meant it with any of the as mean-spirited
Exactly.
as people took it to
I
be.
think that if Muma thought he was actually trying to be homophobic and was trying to be super malicious with it, I don't think he would have been okay with that. And
Right.
since he kind of immediately, he was like, it understands it. I think XQC was doing his regular stream thing and just pop stuff off the top of his head. I think he said something and he thought he was going to be clever and make a joke, and it didn't come out the way he thought it was going to. I don't think it was intentional. I think he was just kind of streaming. It came out. He made a mistake. He's a young guy. To act like none of us have fucking messed stuff up or said stuff like that is kind of ridiculous.
I was literally about to say that. I mean, I have absolutely made an ass out of myself saying the absolute dumbest shit, and almost nobody is exempt from that. And not nobody that I know or hang out with. And so, but the only difference in this situation, and that's why I'm not too upset, but at the same time, it's like, in the difference in this situation is XQC is a professional. He's representing a professional league. This is the,
And not just the league too, but the sponsors that sponsor Dallas as well.
yeah, Jack the Box.
Exactly.
They don't want that on their.
So
on their
I mean,
brand.
the amount of people claiming he's a homophobe or trying to paint him in a bad light, like he's the worst person, and
No.
that's all ridiculous. It clearly, more than likely, he just like you said, he didn't really mean anything by it. He just didn't think about what he said enough before he said it, and that's why I think punishment is justified.
Mm-hmm.
Because you need to, you should learn those things. Be a little more thoughtful about what you say, but to act like he's the scum of the earth just because he said something dumb is ridiculous.
And a lot of people are trying to, and I've seen people pointing this out, that this is the great, a lot of the anti-PC crowd are like, well, this is just, this is part of gaming, it's part of the way it is, it should be let allowed. It's like, well, yes, and obviously gaming, we're a little more laxed. I mean, you see it in the broadcast. Uber with his off comments, and they have these weird, little segments, and then the players do their little goofy thing when they come into the, on the stage. We are a more relaxed environment than other professional sports,
which I enjoy personally.
Yeah, and of course, that's
I'm
what
not
makes
very
it fun.
PC myself,
Yeah.
unless, but there's a time and place. I can
Exactly.
be, and I will be, when I know that it's just not worth it. And like I said, if he had just said, the first part of the statement out of nowhere, it wouldn't have been anything of note, because that's just normal discourse that a lot of gamers say stuff like that. It's just when he when it made it more targeted at somebody in particular is then when it becomes questionable.
Yeah. Any other thoughts, general thoughts over this? Or, I think we pretty much.
I think the other reason it turned into, well, actually, two reasons why it kind of turned into a bigger deal and why it became a big deal is, first off, is the fact that the league is so young, and to have somebody that has one of the biggest following bases out of anybody in the league, pretty much, but it's one of the biggest following bases out of the league. I know at one point after this had happened, my dad had mentioned, who obviously has nothing to do with any kind of video gaming, had mentioned, hey, I saw a thing on your Overwatch stuff. I was like, what do you mean? And he goes, yeah, something about some guy calling someone else names. And I was like, the XQC Muma article. And he goes, yeah, it popped up on my phone. He goes, why is this stuff popping up on my phone? So
Wow.
The only thing he had any access to or had any idea of it was them running this news article.
Mm-hmm.
So it can be a real damaging thing, even though it wasn't necessarily anywhere as big as it would have to be. Right. And the other reason it turned into a thing is because a lot of XQC's fan base started just saying nasty stuff to Muma, and Muma didn't do anything. Like,
Muma did the right thing. Muma forgave.
He was
XQC.
like, "Hey, it's not a big deal. I understand it happens. Like, it's not really okay that you did it, but like, it happens, man. I understand. It's not the end of the world." But then I know that base and a bunch of people just been saying nasty stuff to Muma. I mean, they were being mean enough to him. I messaged the guy and was trying to be like, "Hey, man, it's all right. This sort of stuff happens, unfortunately. I know, like, you're a new kid moving somewhere else. You're away from people. The guy's got enough stress already from having to move somewhere and be on your own. That's really tough.
Stress to perform, all the players have,
Exactly. Right. I mean, all of us know that. We got shipped away from our families and away from everybody. You're by yourself. You're on your own. You've only got stuff around you. And then on top of that, he's got a bunch of people just being dicks to him for something that he handled exceptionally well.
Luckily, he has Flame and the rest of his team to help hold him up,
Exactly. And it's not fair to him because he's a good dude, and not even like having anything negative about XQC. It's just not fair the way that some of the people are treating him.
A lot of us
based on something he treated.
That's not the first time. Plenty of fan bases for famous YouTubers, Twitchers are. I mean, they're borderline, if not proven delusional. I mean, Muma just he forgave XQC, wanted to move on. He didn't do anything. I think they act as though Muma was the one that XQC said this, and Muma was in his stream and blew it up and sent it to Blizzard and got all this stuff done, and it's like, no, it's XQC's fault.
That's not fair.
XQC knows that. He took it on himself. Muma wanted to move on because he understands that, like we said, it's kind of a thing that people say, is it okay? Debatable, right? But just move on. It's not it's not something that he wants to be held down by. Why? It's just words. And
they are going through stress, and that's something we should actually. It's going to bring us into our next news article here. But I wanted to wrap this part up and just kind of say that these players are going through stress. A lot of these are younger adults. I mean, they're not. They're anywhere between 18. What's the oldest player? 28, 26? I don't remember. But I mean, we're talking about the young. Most of them are within the younger demographic. Yeah, most of them are within the younger demographic, just graduating high school. When you're talking about literally having to move away from your family, completely change your lifestyle, change your eating habits, everything, that affects how well you perform. I mean, that's just inevitable. And and obviously we've seen the effects of that on XQC even, with sometimes he has a few breakdowns on stream. I mean, when he got in trouble before, just you can tell he's a lot of times he was tired and he's just like, man, I like this is rough. I'm having a hard time dealing with this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's stress and it's inevitable. It's going to happen, and to add more to it for Muma, not definitely a bad situation.
No, and then there's one other thing too, right?
Yeah. Go ahead.
I mean, I think the biggest reason that these kind of things blow up is for some reason, as a collective, huge fan base is just, especially in this day and age and on the internet and with things, they love drama. They just eat it up, and there hasn't been that much drama for things like this in the Overwatch League, right? So as soon as it happens, of course, people are gonna blow up and throw it. But it's not even just Muma. I mean, Monty got some shade. One of the heads at Twitch claimed he was racist. He was claiming it was okay to be racist because originally after this thing blew up, Monty said, hey, let's respond with compassion, about this before we know what the intentions behind what XQC said,
Right.
Basically what we were saying, whether he said regardless of the fact that what he said was not okay, don't act like don't treat him and act like he's the worst person in the world, especially when you don't even know, why he said it, how mean he meant to be or not, right? And then, he replied under that and added on, I do think he should be punished, just don't be ridiculous and framing him as a terrible person. I'm paraphrasing, of course. It's basically what he said. And then the head from Twitch later admitted that he didn't think that Monty was trying to represent that it was okay to be racist, but he just wanted to say it. It basically amounted to, he knew that what he was saying about Monty was wrong, but he said it anyway to get a big reaction out of it. And I just don't understand how you can be like that.
It's tribalism. At the end of the day, we
should probably try to steer away from this kind of stuff too much. But
that's true.
I thought it was only fair to admit that Monty got shit.
It just feels unfair that that these guys had like a separate issue that they had, and other people tried to use it for their own agenda, and it just sucks for these kids. And it
is part of being in the spotlight, of course. So
which is another negative portion for them.
Mm-hmm.
I had more to say on it, but I decided probably best. I just decided probably.
I don't want to feed into the drama too much.
Don't want to feed into it too much. That's true. We are here for Overwatch League after all, and not the drama show. Mm-hmm. Although that's inevitably going to happen. There's people.
Anyway, though, XQC will be back for stage 2. Hopefully focused. Hopefully this is a good break for him. Gives him a chance to get his head straight, and he can come back.
They're not going to be scrimming with him during the time too.
Yeah, that's not super uncommon for suspension. So
it's not uncommon. I just mean that we may not see him right away as soon as he's available to be played, because they may want to scrim with him a little bit more before they get him back in. But he'll be back. Yeah,
hopefully the rest is good for him. He seemed like he was having a little bit of trouble stuff too. Hopefully he can use it to get his head straight. I hope he gets his stuff set right, and I hope he does well. I mean,
I agree.
None of us really think there's anything wrong with him, or he's having that sort of stuff.
No.
He made a mistake, and he tried to do his best to cope up to it.
I've not been the biggest fan of his ego, but that's something that a lot of people have and work on. So like you're saying, hopefully he can find the silver lining in this and come back and just be a stronger and better person after he's had to sit out.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So moving on into the next part of the news, this is the other big thing that kind of happened this week was the Shanghai general manager, I believe is who it was, coming out with a news article or a statement rather, kind of explaining from his and from their point of view the poor performance of Shanghai, and this kind of goes into what we were talking about with the stress on these new players, because one thing, especially with Shanghai's poor performance, that a lot of people were questioning, because there's also reports of them performing much better in scrims than on the actual stage, and so
really? I hadn't heard that, but it doesn't surprise me.
Well, and obviously not a whole lot better, but I mean they are performing better than they are on stage, and a lot of that a lot of people are thinking and theorizing this could be a lot of due to obviously stress. They're in a completely different country. Mm-hmm. They don't have the same foods, the temperature. I mean, everything's different for them, and they're all really young kids. So,
could be stage jitters too. I'm sure that's a part of it. I don't recall, because the scene wasn't as easy to follow in China as it was in say Korea.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure, but I know, it's not the miraculous youngsters roster. So some of these players, I don't know how much stage time they had before they got straight to the big stage in Overwatch League, and that's a thing that affects plenty of people
Right.
all the time. I mean, it's a huge thing in all the other esports too. There's teams out there that in scrims people are totally afraid of them, and they talk like they're the greatest team in the world, but when it comes game day on the stage, they get the jitters and they falter. And I think it's interesting too how, like you said, and we actually mentioned in the other episode, they may just be going through a lot of stress and troubles adapting to their new environment. And I'm not sure, nor would I have the qualifications to know, but I have noticed that it seems that Chinese players in general have a harder time adjusting to living here or being in the States for a longer period of time than the Korean rosters, their players. For some reason, they seem to adapt a little bit better. I don't know if it's because there's more parallels between American and Korean society, which could definitely be it. Like I said, I don't have the knowledge to make any conclusions on that, but I've noticed it be kind of a trend. So, I'm sure they'll get to it. They'll figure it out. Yeah. They'll get comfortable eventually.
Yeah. So, but anyways, kind of going back to that post that I was talking about from Van with Shanghai Dragons, he was talking about the training regimen that Shanghai Dragons are going through right now, and according to him, this could be fluff.
Practicing a lot.
Yeah, this could be fluff. I'm not sure, but according to him, they start training at 10:30 in the morning and they play till midnight.
Go till midnight. Right?
That is unreal amount of game time. I'm sorry, but no matter, I mean, if you play a game or do anything, even if it's the thing you love doing the most in the world, you start spending more than 8+ hours, and you start getting like closer to 12, 13 hours on that. I'm done, man. I'm done. I love playing Overwatch. Yeah. Overwatch is one of my favorite games, but like, wow.
On that note, from that release, that time frame also included, I think it said 3 meals on top of that. So it wasn't straight playtime. It included meals and some other film stuff.
They said they have at least one Chinese meal, so they're trying to integrate them food-wise and other things. And then go ahead, what were you going to say? Also?
Specific stuff, but actually the Outlaws kind of came out a little bit in defense of Shanghai with this too, because Flame came out with a statement. I'm pretty sure Flame was the one that came out with a statement that said, hey, let's not judge them before we see what's going on. Calm down, guys. They've done a lot better than this in scrims when we've played them, so there's something else going on. Calm down, don't start a witch hunt, and let's go ahead and let's get some facts before we go trying to get crazy about this.
Oh yeah.
And then that's when they came out with that. Well, and then the other Outlaw players, because I also saw that they were talking about before their Dallas thing that they were also up until midnight, so they had the same time frame as what they were doing. So they were practicing for the same amount of hours essentially, because they wanted to review films and get better at what they were doing too. Well, so it's not like they're the only team.
One thing that this is one thing that Siegel actually mentioned on a stream, I think, the one where I found the information. But Siegel was talking about it. He goes, "You want to know why, esports players play for like 2 or 3 years and then quit and they're done? They just get burnt out. And
they get so much practice. They have to practice so much.
And that is something you seriously need to think about, especially with the if you want this league to last a long time, and if you want to stay in this for a while and you want to get better continuously." You need to account for burnout. I mean, these professional NFL players, when they're practicing, I mean, they're not doing 12-hour stints.
Well, I mean there is a difference I was going to touch on. I mean, for conventional sports, you can only practice so long before you'll just straight injure yourself because our bodies. It's a similar thing for esports. I just mean that there's less agency over it right now because. If you tell somebody to go run for 8 hours straight, obviously they're gonna, at a certain point, their brain will make their body shut down because they're doing too much damage. With playing games, it's not healthy to spend as many hours as some do, but there's not really that. There's not a call to stop it because you're just. I
was gonna say in sports, your body gives out before your mind does.
Exactly.
You want to keep playing, you want to keep practicing, but you're tired and you need to have a break, and that gives you a good mental break. But in esports, you don't necessarily have that that
the same thing exists, but it's just not as in the public eye. I mean, you could play for 10 hours straight. I mean, like you said earlier, after a certain amount of time, if it's just not going well, it's actually proven in many other ways for everything. Just take a break, take a mental cool down and go do some other things. Physical activity is a huge thing, and that didn't start coming up in any other esports until they'd been around for a while. But a lot of the players, they have regiments. They work out as a team, or and they have like specific meal plans that their teams set them to follow, because it's like, you can hear it a billion different places, but healthy body, like healthy mind, because it really does matter. And it matters less or more depending on the person, but it does matter to an extent. And that's another thing about Shanghai too. They mentioned in the statement that they're planning other kinds of activities, like extracurricular, I guess you could say, outside of the game, to do things, which should be good too. Team building exercises, as stupid and laughable some of them can be, really good ones do make a huge difference, and can make people have a lot more fun and trust in each other as a team.
Well, one thing to look at is like when we're together, like when we're playing our Overwatch games, if we're sitting there and we've for the last 8 hours been playing Overwatch, we start either tilting or throwing ults or just getting tired of playing the same thing, blah blah blah. But we come back after a couple days and we're all sitting down, rested. We jump on Overwatch. We're dominating. Think we're dominating, whatever. But
I'm down.
Well, yeah. But a mental is huge part of it. And granted, they do need to work on strategies. Do need to be looking at VODs. Obviously, putting time in is what's going to make you the best. Soul Dynasty is a shining example of this. But you need to have the mental space to be able to handle this.
And like I said, I know in the statement they do have breaks, and they're planning stuff outside of the game too.
Which is good.
They're not just hardcore playing for 10 hours or 12 hours.
Yeah, but I think this is the post here. Obviously, none of this, we can't take all this at face value, but kind of what I'm trying to get at with this is something everybody should really be aware of, that this is a reality in gaming and in any kind of sport. Is you have to take things, there's so many variables to what makes a team good. It's not just, they're all bad because they're mechanically bad, or they have bad game sense, or they have bad team play, bad coaches. Literally everything comes into play. How comfortable are they too hot? Literally stupid stuff like that. Are they cold? Yeah, stuff like that.
People think it's a
difference.
dumb excuse when players say they performed less than they normally do because their hands are too cold. And while it is, I'm not going to say it's not kind of an excuse. It's just that just because something is an excuse doesn't mean that it doesn't have relevancy in the situation, right? Like, playing with cold hands does suck. When it happens to me, I play worse. It doesn't mean that that's an excuse for not, finding a way to get your hands warm or whatever. But, it's just all the little tiny details can add up and just cause a problem.
Yeah.
But I think overall it's kind of, all right, we're in the first stage of Overwatch League. They are 0-4, right? 0-4. How many sports teams have had seasons where they barely won anything?
Woo, Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, and yet they continue. I think we're just, esports is a younger generation. Not everybody's into conventional sports. I barely am anyway, myself. But I think, it go a long way if people just be a little more understanding that it's not, and this is a franchise league too.
Yeah.
At least as far as we know, it's not like they go, if they don't win anything in the first stage, Blizzard's just going to kick them out of the Overwatch League or anything, right? And even if that's Blizzard's business, just relax. Like don't harp on them and whatever. They're going to take the time and be good. These are competitive players and a competitive team. They're not going to be okay with being bottom feeders the whole time, because if they were, Blizzard wouldn't have wanted them in the Overwatch League, and they wouldn't have vetted them out in their their inclusion process that they did to find teams. They're going to get there. They're going to get better. It's only the first stage. Give them time.
Well, that's why, and I'm not a Team McDonald's fan. I'm not a Florida Mayhem fan personally, but I do like what I'm seeing when I see them up there, because they really look like they at first it's like, okay, we're missing the mark. We're not there yet. We're not performing up to snuff. Mm-hmm. But it also seems like, at least with their player attitude and kind of what I've been seeing on Twitter and whatnot, it seems like they're like, okay, let's take a step back. Let's relax a little bit. We'll work our way there. For now, let's just play these games and just keep working at it slowly but surely.
Take it as it comes.
Have a good time. Meme it up on stage. Have Swoosh do his goofy stuff when they go up to the stage. I like that, and I think that's a healthy attitude. As long as you're continuously improving to some degree or another, you can't fault
Yeah.
them for that.
You just take it. You just take it game by game, and Shanghai has looked good. At certain points,
yeah.
they're individually, like we said, they're really good. Their teamwork just seems to not be there. But the longer they spend as a team, the more things they do outside of the game, the more things they do inside the game. Unless there's some really huge, bad, terrible personality conflicts that they can't fix, and then they have to swap out players. But even still, that's still it's still a matter of time. They're going to take things that they're going to improve, and they will. I truly believe that they will be good at some point as a team.
Yeah,
But
the
like I
difference
said, it's
between
first stage.
yeah,
It's
the
not the end of
difference
the world.
between watching Florida and Shanghai, if you look at just the way the players act or just behave, it just kind of shows the difference in how each one's handling the stress, and it just kind of shows that Shanghai needs something to
Yeah, it seemed to
mitigate
me
some of that stress.
after they lost the first map, because they came in kind of confidently, and then after they lost the first map to Florida, they seemed to they had less and less steam. So it seems like it's they need to build up some more confidence as a team and have more trust.
I agree.
Exactly.
And as a result, I think the community needs to stop acting like they're terrible or whatever.
Overreacts on everything. It's
Of
like
course.
one thing.
I know it's useless to say they should stop doing things, but
one
really,
thing happens, and it's always just this. I mean, there's some funny overreactions, like when Dallas lost to Houston. Immediately on Reddit, there was a post of a dumpster on fire with the fuel logo.
yeah. Exactly.
But
I mean,
that's funny. Clearly,
Obviously,
Dallas isn't trash, but it's just funny. Like those types of overreactions are funny, but but in general, people can meme and joke all they want, but at the end of the day, this is a professional league with professional players some of them are just going to take time, and there's going to be things to hash out before they kind of shine. So,
how many people have lost 4 games in a row in Overwatch or any other video game? How many people have lost more than that? It's just
it's absolutely not.
Probably the majority of those guys as contenders teams.
Exactly. They
That's
they will be
accurate.
They will be fine.
Okay, so let's move on to the last part here. Today, this is Tuesday, obviously, so Blizzard patch day. The Blizzard, the latest Overwatch patch came out.
I haven't seen it yet. Maybe when we're done with this cast, we can see the stuff, right?
None of us have been able to log in because of the thousands of people in the queue ahead of us because everyone's trying to log in.
Yeah.
Queue time's actually a problem right now?
Yeah, a little bit. It'll go down
on
over
earlier.
a while. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, so the patch introduced Blizzard World, the map that they had been working on, everybody got to see over at BlizzCon the last year. So they introduced the new map, which I think there's a bug, but it's somehow in the competitive rotation right now. I think they said that was a bug, I'm sure, because that's normally not how they do it.
The notes state that it's not until next season that it's going to go live as a competitive map for the rotation.
Okay, all right, so it's definitely a bug. And then they introduced all the new cosmetics, where they got the Blizzard Blizzard crossover cosmetics for some of the heroes, and then just some other updated icons and whatnot, all for the regular loot box, and so you'll just get those over time, and as well they don't cost the 3,000 for the legendary. It's like it's the standard pricing, the 1,000 for a legendary, 250. So the notable thing is that the balance changes did not release with this, and that was I believe Jeff Kaplan made a blue post on this not too long ago, a few weeks ago, saying, hey, they're probably not going to really be released together. They're two separate patches that are going out and being checked and all that. So I would assume probably within a week or two, hopefully, we'll be getting the Mercy Junkrat nerf. But this is, of course, and specifically on Reddit, but even on like the Facebook comments and whatnot, it's of course people complaining about the downtime between fixing heroes that need to be updated. So I mean, I guess what I'm kind of getting at is what do you guys think about the way Blizzard's handling balance and its in A, its frequency, and B, in its severity, because that's something that's a lot of people are talking about, and I see varying opinions on it, and I'm kind of, us three are usually a little bit more centrist when it comes to our opinions on this type of thing. So I'm curious what you guys think about as far as how Blizzard's handling that.
I think that they haven't quite found the correct tempo for them for finding, I mean, Blizzard has traditionally been kind of slow when it comes to a lot of things, which you could argue it's better to be slow about changing things than knee jerk, but the nature of changing things is they're developers, so they can continue changing things. So if they change something in a week and then it's not good, they can change it again, right? There's positives and negatives to both sides, both ways. I think that they should their goal, and it very well should be to reach a kind of system like Riot has for handling League of Legends, where they have big, huge content updates, where they, rework champions, put new champions in, kind of big things like that. They have on a different update cycle than balance changes. Balance changes tend to be more minor, and they're bi-weekly, I believe. So they tweak little numbers because, their philosophy is, just if something's overtuned, tune it down just a little bit. If it's still overtuned, you can just dial it back a little bit more, and they've gotten really good because they've been doing it for a while now.
Well, yeah.
At things generally, I mean, overarching metas, a lot of people tend to complain that lasts too long, but they're minor changes. They're in a good system, and I think Blizzard may be trying to move something like that with the fact that they've released Blizzard World and these new cosmetics independently of when they're doing the balance changes. So I think if they continue to do that, it'll be a good road for them to go down, because then you have, a different, like I said, you have a different time scale, a different system. You have balance changes every, on a set schedule, and then you have content coming out on a completely different tempo. So they don't have to interfere with each other. Balance can happen when it needs to. Content will come out normally.
Yeah, I think you're definitely right. There needs to be a separation. Content and balance need to be two completely different things. Two different teams, setup, tempo, everything. I'm sure that's that way to some degree, but I really feel like that needs to be very established, because that's going to be that's going to be nothing but good for the competitive scene. As far as the frequency and the severity, with League of Legends, things are different because you have a lot of different items.
Yeah, there's more angles and more things to tweak.
Yeah, there's tons of little numbers that are you can flux a little bit easier. And it's more, especially with their soft nerfs.
And that's not to say there aren't tiny numbers in Overwatch. There's nowhere near as many.
No, there is, but the difference being in Overwatch, I mean, you literally give Junkrat another mine, and he goes from useless to the most amazing thing in overnight. And the same thing, you can literally tweak Soldier's damage by 2, and all of a sudden he's now.
I mean, the same thing does happen in League. You tweak an item by giving 2% more, and then one hero that was useless is now the strongest hero in the game.
Well, I think a lot of it, though, with League is just a huge hero pool. You have more checks and balances, and in Overwatch, you only have 26 heroes.
I don't know if this is what you're getting at, but I think it makes more sense for there to be a faster tempo for updates in League, because there's a lot more things going on.
Right.
Blizzard doesn't have to change things as fast, but there should still be a good tempo for it.
There's a lot of things to consider right now, and with only 26 heroes, it's very volatile. So if a lot of people hate this Mercy meta, and understandably so. You pretty much have to have a Mercy on a competitive aspect. Not all the time, but it's annoying, and not everybody wants to play Mercy. But another thing that to take in consideration is because Mercy is meta, it's enabled a lot of other comps. There's a lot of other heroes that are only useful because Mercy's in the meta, versus whether directly related or indirectly related. As soon as you nerf her, what if all of a sudden 4 tank meta came back? I mean, it's not, as far as I know, but that it's a possibility because of how volatile the hero balance is right now. You do one thing to one hero, it changes the landscape for everybody, and especially with somebody as strong as Mercy. I don't think because people are getting tired of playing Mercy, it's like, yeah, I understand that, but I think there's a ton of things to consider when it comes to the hero balance, especially with a game with this low hero pool as of right now. I think it's one of those things that will get easier as time goes on, but and I do think it needs to be faster. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not excusing him for the length of time. I do think the changes need to come faster, and it needs to be more streamlined, but there's a lot to consider. And I think in the reality is people hate Mercy meta, but there has been more diverse comps, with the exception of Mercy, in this meta than I've seen in many other metas. I mean,
No, at least as far as Overwatch League
as
goes.
far as Overwatch is concerned, I mean, we've seen dive, we've seen spam, we've seen four tank, we've
Could
seen
also
three tank.
it could also be more directly related to the teams having played with each other longer and having more experience playing against teams at their level, so they're more comfortable experimenting and doing their own thing. It doesn't necessarily mean it's all down to Mercy, but I'm sure Mercy has helped in her own unique kind of way.
Well,
And
exactly. Yeah.
even though I do hate this meta as well, I still prefer it over the old Mercy meta where she hides and instantly reses the entire team. I hated that even more.
Now I can just shoot her.
Yeah.
End of the game.
Any thoughts, Fish, on the balancing?
Yeah, I absolutely have thoughts on the balancing. First off, I don't care about the Mercy meta. It only affects the healers, so it's got nothing to do with me. I can play whatever DPS I want. Garrison actually has the same opinion. Vox has the same opinion, but he just doesn't say that. Okay, so on to the balancing part of it. I think the problem with quick balancing options are then they use us for the testers. There will be no testing on their part. So now you're going to get even more hate from people because they're like, oh my God, they did it. Because can you imagine if they gave, not even, that's not a good example because of Junkrat mine. The problem is people are going to use whatever they try to balance in ways that they never understood or had intentions for. Like the fact that the initial idea with the Junkrat mine was so that he could have an escape, so he could engage and escape, engage and escape. And what happened was people that were good at the mine go, oh, cool, I can kill the dive meta now. Boom, Tracer's down. Boom, Genji's down. Oh, there we go. No more dive meta. That's why it gets used in ways it's not initially intended. So I think on a real quick thing, it's going to make the players, I think you got to choose. Either it's quick and the player base has to be the guinea pigs, and that makes them have to constantly do quick updates and quick updates and quick updates. And I think what they prefer to do, at least from what they're seeing, is slow updates where the developers have a lot of opportunity to play around with what they want, see what people are using it for the PTR, and decide whether it's truly how they want to balance the heroes, so that the actual game itself is what the developers want it to be, and it's not given in with just people doing that. Well, I think that's why it's slow, and I think that if it goes quick, it's just going to be constantly changing, and I just don't like that.
Well, don't get me wrong. I definitely am not advocating that they should change things as soon as the community blows up about it. Community is generally retarded and tone deaf.
It's awful. I agree.
But I think it should be a little bit quicker, just because a lot of the times, and the pros don't have a gospel, but when they're frustrating a lot of the players that they're the esport revolves around, it can be kind of an issue. But again, I think over time they will get better at knowing when something should be looked at slower and when something should be changed, because there's a difference. Some things it's not immediately obvious whether it needs to be changed quickly or not, and other things it's kind of like okay, yeah, we need to change this. I believe Blizzard has mentioned it somewhere, but I may be wrong on that. But I think one of the issues they run into is there's not very much player engagement on the PTR. A lot of people just use the PTR as a way to just see something new. And I mean, I'm guilty. I've done it. But the way that other games have done PTRs is they have it a more vetted process. Not anybody can just download the PTR and go in there, which positive or negatives, I'm not saying they should do it either way, but it would be nice and easier for Blizzard to make changes if the community engaged more critically and more, paying more attention to the changes on the PTR and experiment with them there. Because as it is, I think, like I said, they mentioned somewhere, they don't have as many numbers as they would like to have testing things from people playing on the PTR. So it by nature, it takes them longer because they don't have the data to warrant a change.
Yeah, I agree with periods. I think if all the player base was as dedicated to their particular character as a Doomfist bug guy on Reddit that we could get everything balanced exactly the way we wanted it. But not everybody's willing to do that until they learn every bug Doomfist has, so they can finally play Doomfist.
It's just another symptom of. Well, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think another thing too is Blizzard. It's easy. It's easy damage control, because if Blizzard goes, you know what, we want to change Pharah to give her like her left click just does her ultimate all the time or something, obviously that's ridiculous, but like
I don't like that. You lose your mobility.
No, but you can still move.
And you're invulnerable.
No,
Okay, take it.
but if they were to make a change like that, I mean, obviously it's ridiculous. But if they were to make a quick change like this, sounds cool, throw it in there, and it would turned out negative and it ruined the meta, the outrage from the community is unreal. When the Bastion update came around and they real quick just were like, oh yeah, Bastion, we changed him around. Now he has 35% damage reduction or whatever it was, 50%. Whenever they released it at the time, it was really high. I think it was 35%.
I think it was 35.
I mean, everyone freaked out, lost their fucking mind, like holy shit, like oh my god, I can't believe this. Like it was every single day people screaming.
You're talking about put 2 supports on Bastion and no one can kill him.
Yeah. I mean, clearly that was obviously that was bad. That was really bad, but it was one of those things that they just did real quick, thought sounds cool, put it on paper, boom. The community outrage was insane. Mm-hmm. And I think Blizzard does not want to have that happen, especially with a game that they're looking to build an established player base and they're really wanting to build up Overwatch League. They can't have the community outraging over everything all the time. So they're going for a look, hey, this isn't the best meta right now, but it's working and you guys aren't too outraged about it, so we're going to take more time to really look at this. Mm-hmm. And I understand that because until they come up with a very established balancing schedule and a method of doing it, until they come up with that, I mean, if they make bad balancing, people are just going to freak out if something happens. I mean, it's
unfortunate because it's almost related to the same kind of things as with Shanghai's current scoreline. People love to be outraged, just over sensationalized, just knee jerk, like immediately now, in plenty of other games and Overwatch itself, developers make a change that's not great, people hate it, and they blow up, and they act almost as though they truly believe that the developers have come out and said, this is the last change to the game, we're no longer updating it, right?
Right.
It's like, no, just hang on. If this is really that bad, they're gonna change it. So I think that is it's another thing. It's another really good positive for when the developers get a tempo down that's pretty reliable on when they're going to update things, because things, like I mentioned earlier, League of Legends, they have this tempo. So a lot of people are going to be more soothed by that because they know, oh, this sucks in the shit, but they reliably update things every week or every 2 weeks or whatever it is. So they know that they have a static point in time where they can expect things to be changed again by. So people tend to be a little less outraged when they have more confirmation on when something is going to stop. When it's so few far in between and there's not as much communication about it, it definitely doesn't excuse the stupid outrage, but at least it makes it kind of understanding, because there's like, well, when is this going to change? Is it going to be forever? I don't know. No, it won't be, but
well, it comes down. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Fish.
No, that's okay. You go. Let me close.
Okay. But go ahead. It boils down to a developer caring about the game that they're developing, and a lot of people, when one bad decision is made, when one bad thing happens, a lot of people just jump immediately and go, Blizzard doesn't care about this game. They don't care about the development cycle. They just care about the money, and they just immediately cycle into this ridiculously negative connotation to the company. When obviously they want to make money. Every company wants to make money. It's inevitable. But they clearly do care about the game. If they didn't, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing. I mean, it's just that's just
there's a difference between a business whose only goal is money, and so they try to get the most profitable product, regardless of how much user engagement or turnover there is or isn't. And there's a difference between ones who make money by making the best product they feel they can deliver. Yeah. Which is where I feel Blizzard lies, even though a lot of people wouldn't agree.
Yep. Go ahead, Fish.
Okay. So I think that currently their long patch system, whether it's the most efficient, it is currently working for them. Mm-hmm. So since that is working, I think that they are hesitant to swap it up, because when a group of 3 of us that generally agree on almost all the Overwatch topics have 3 completely different viewpoints on what balancing should be, I think it just shows how messed up the entire player base is going to be and how different they are. Yeah. And they can't please the 3 of us that almost always agree. I don't think they're going to be able to please everybody, and I think that's why it's taken them so long to get stuff set.
Well, yeah. I mean, Blizzard has had problems with that in other games too, where they tried too hard to please everybody, and it failed. Because you can never please everybody in almost any aspect of life.
Exactly. Buff Monk.
Yeah.
Buff Monk and
It's
WoW.
better.
Please.
It's better to focus on the things you have
Um,
total control over. Which
Mhm.
I mean, they do it developing, but I don't think it's too slow. Like, oh god, the game's awful and it just keeps getting worse. Or even when a lot of people were saying that, I didn't think so. But I think that it should be quicker, but I don't think they need to force it to be quicker because I think as they develop the game longer, it will just be natural because they have a better understanding of how things affect each other.
to wrap up to wrap this up, I do want to say one thing. I have been very appreciative of Blizzard. They've done a very good job with Overwatch. It's my favorite game. I've been playing it for a long time. I love this game, and even on their since beta. Thank you, Fox. Even
Oh yeah, that's right. I gave you the beta key.
Yeah, you did. But even with their bad, with all those decisions that people would have considered bad, I've been rolling with it, and they've been doing a good job, and I've been pleased with the updates. The one thing that triggered me through the roof was removing deathmatch from the arcade and putting it on a weekly cycle. Stop that.
Did they change that now? Because I thought I went on arcade and TDM is not the rotated mode.
No, I believe when I
yeah.
logged on earlier, it wasn't in
I agree.
That is something
Deathmatch
Blizzard being
back.
tone deaf. Team Deathmatch should always be in the rotation.
I'm
Or should
sorry.
be a static. Team Deathmatch should be a static because it's a good mode. Most of the casuals love it. All the pros love it. It's just a way to go.
Mystery heroes in there all the time.
And it's a great warm-up.
Mystery heroes and those stupid... Team Deathmatch is a great warm-up. When the pros use it as a warm-up consistently before they scrim or do whatever, it's good. Leave it in there because they are the developers. They have the numbers, but still... I don't care. I'm biased as hell to this, like you. Even if more people play Mystery Heroes than Team Deathmatch, fucking rotate Mystery Heroes out because those people aren't contributing much to the game.
An extra slot for Team Deathmatch.
Yeah,
it needs to
just always have Team
there.
Deathmatch. TDM needs to stay. The other modes can rotate as much as they want. I don't care.
I also would like to see. I would like to see free for all also stay all the time because I enjoy that when I'm solo warming up. But especially when you're with when we're getting ready to queue. Even for when I get ready for comp, I really just want to practice my tracking and killing people, and the best way to do that is TDM.
The free-for-all deathmatch is great, except when you have friends that you want to play with too.
Well, yeah.
Then it's no longer good. That's why you want the TDM.
Or make it so it cycles. If you're in a group, it queues you in team deathmatch. If you're by yourself, it queues in a free-for-all.
Sure. Whatever you need to do,
it's also such a stressor when an event comes out and you want to grind your free loot boxes for wins in arcade,
and all
to get event items, and you can't play TDM. So you have the choice between, let's say, FFA, but not everybody is even the best solo player, so that's not realistic. And even me, I win it when I play it, but I don't like playing it half the time because I'm only there for the loot box. So if I don't win it, it's more frustrating. And of course, that's a personal issue. But when your best choices are mystery heroes or some other really gimmicky mode that there's almost no guarantee,
or something,
that are so gimmicky, it's almost impossible, even if you play well, to guarantee a win in.
Yeah.
It's very frustrating when you're trying to get those 3 loot boxes and you can't just go into deathmatch and really have some. You don't feel like you have enough agency over.
I enjoy McCree as much as actually probably more than most people, but I don't want to be forced to play him 9 matches in a row to get my loot boxes in free for all.
Yeah, exactly. Team deathmatch needs to be around. The pros use it for warm up. I use it for warm up. It is an amazing tool, and I'm not saying it needs to go in the competitive cycle, but it is really it is where I feel like that needs to be a staple. I am biased on that, but I am going to stick to it.
It's the least frustrating game mode to lose in. Even if you're doing bad.
Yep. Yeah, you can. It's the one game mode where you can go in and you can pick who you want unless somebody else takes it. But of course, once they swap or you get into another one, you can play who you want.
Yep.
And you can just practice. Like if you remember when we had this conversation before it was a mode, why I advocated that they should put a team deathmatch mode in was because you can just practice mechanics on quick play or wherever. But the fact that there's an objective that you have to pay attention to makes it harder. You can't simply just focus on getting better at tracking with Tracer or your dead aim, your raw aim with Widowmaker or whatever, because there's so many other factors coming into play preventing you from doing just what you want to do. Team Deathmatch, you just go in, you can practice what you want, you can play what you want, you can put on music, you don't have to worry about shit. And it's like you said, even if you lose half the time, I don't play TDM to win. generally. I play TDM. I mean, I still try to, of course, but I play it to, I want to get better at Reaper. So I go in, I play Reaper in TDM, and the only thing that's a detriment to my team that if I'm not doing it is getting a lot of kills. That's it. I'm not sitting there. I don't have to force to be selfish and ignore the objectives to do to meet my objective. I just get to kill, get to frag out, and it's awesome.
We're having a private chat, so nobody in the.
Oh,
Hold on.
it's private, very secret.
Okay. No, but we actually we do want to close this out here. Coming up pretty.
Yeah, I think this has been a long.
We are way over time. Who knew removing Monty would make it go faster or go longer? Who knew?
Right.
That's at you, Monty. If you're listening to this,
we kind of have to jump segments. Would you?
Yeah. No. So we're actually gonna.
If not, it'd be silent. We always have something else we could add.
So we
now by me saying this. Continue.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. Anyways, we are running out of time. Our last segment is Hero Select. We're gonna skip pretty much all of it. We'll go into more of this.
I thought that's what we were doing right now.
No, we were going over
random
news.
Stuff we're talking about.
We were in news, just talking about random stuff. We're gonna go in Hero Select. I'm gonna let Fish Whisper kind of close out on one individual in particular who we've been looking at. We're really really enjoying seeing his progression. But after that, we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna close this out because we're running short on time. But
yes,
go ahead.
I only showed up today for this. Linkser has been awesome in his games.
Oh yes.
That last game when they were playing Dallas and Effect was running Widow, you just saw the enemy team Widowmaker flying through the air and you would just see Effect's health bar drop. And then you would see Linkser floating through the air and then Effect's health bar drop. Linkser played awesome on Widowmaker. The only person that's outclassed him is Fleta, and that's saying something. If that's what it takes to be able to stop you on Widowmaker is Fleta, that's the next tier. That's a huge thing. The fact that this guy isn't getting way more conversation about him is ridiculous. His McCree is awesome. Yeah. His Widow's awesome. His Tracer, you never get to watch because they don't follow him. But if it's the same pattern, it does the same thing. Linkser has been an awesome standout on that team. And he 100%. Kind of allows Jake to be able to play as aggressive as he does. It's because he's consistently getting picks.
He's staple food in their diet. He's always there doing what he should be doing, and he really does deserve more of the spotlight. He's fantastic.
Consistent.
In my opinion, he is the best in the West. He is the best non-Korean player there is. My personal opinion. I mean, you can DPS wise. I mean. Support and tank, you can make other arguments for other people, but as far as DPS goes, I don't think there's anybody better from the Western region.
At least at this point. At
this point that we have seen in the league.
At any point, he just keeps getting better and getting more heroes he can play.
And like even when Fleta was even when they were playing Soul and Soul was winning. And Fleta was still forcing changes and getting good picks here and there. It just wasn't enough because the rest of the team wasn't there. He's crazy. He's so good.
He's definitely.
He's just the man. Blizzard should hype him up more.
Absolutely.
That's my segment. I
agree. Now we are biased, but that doesn't mean we're wrong. So.
Well, yes. I mean, for all we know, maybe there's some back end stuff, and they wanted to feature him, and maybe he doesn't. Maybe he said that he doesn't want much of the spotlight because maybe it pressure. Maybe he doesn't want that kind of pressure. Not saying that's the case. We just don't know. But if that's not the case, then he definitely deserves.
Too bad, Linkser, you're a borderline superhero.
Yep.
Embrace it.
Exactly. So, Linkser, congratulations. You are the one and only in our.
You are the hero selected.
You are the hero select. But we are well over time, so we're gonna cut this short. We're gonna definitely wrap this up here. So anyways, thank you guys, everybody, for watching. The one person in Twitch chat who was watching, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yes, you guys.
Parker, we appreciate you.
Yeah, we appreciate you so much. Thank you. If of course, as always, if anybody has anything they would like to add to the show, any questions, comments, concerns, or clips they would like to see highlighted, or any pros or anybody that wants to come on the show, we'll do an interview, kind of discuss, or just come and talk on the regular show and discuss these subjects with us. Feel free to get in contact with us. You can either email us at the One Trick Hero Podcast at gmail.com, or you can leave a comment or whatever they're called on the YouTube channel, Twitch channel, Twitter, Facebook, wherever you can find us at. I'm saying
Yeah,
a
so on
lot.
our
I need
Twitter.
to stop saying
At the One Trick Hero.
Yes, we
correct?
are at Twitter at the One Trick Hero. We're also on Twitch as One Trick Hero Podcast. We're on Facebook, the One Trick Hero Podcast. We are available on iTunes, Google Play Music, and I'm working on getting us on Spotify, but we're on all that plus SoundCloud, so you can find us there. That's where our audio only for the podcast is going to be. We again we're live on Sundays, and you'll get the recording on Monday morning. We're gonna be shooting for around 5 p.m. Central next time on this coming Sunday. Either way, everybody, thank you so much for watching and for just kind of hanging out and discussing, listening to us discuss about Overwatch. We're very excited for week 3. A lot of good matches coming up. Good time for everybody, and we'll be covering more of it. And we won't be late next time, hopefully. So thank you.
Have fun in Blizzard World and with the new cosmetics.
Oh
'Cause
yes,
I know I will.
wasting all your coins on cosmetics that you'll inevitably get a duplicate of next match.
That's more coins.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.